Hello, I hope you're all doing well. I'm kind of sad today that I don't get to discuss the topic of today's video in front of all of you. I'm sure many of you would have a lot of interesting things to say because this really relates quite a bit to what you've been doing recently. Well, we're going to talk today about the signaling theory of education and going to relate it to the material we've been talking about, especially related to the last two problem sets 7 and 8. So recall problem set 7 and 8. There's a player and there's some uncertainty over her. And that player does something, right, and their game's up or down. And that causes someone else to learn something maybe about that player. So basically, someone knows something about themselves, and then they do something, and that action might reveal something about themselves to someone else. This might explain sort of what's going on in college. So we observe in the United States that college graduates earn, on average, much more over their life than non-college graduates. It's really quite a big effect, and it's actually been growing for a while. And it's probably part of the reason almost all of you knew you were going to college from a young age. Your parents understood this, and they're like, well, of course she's going to college. It's the United States. We really, really reward people who go to college. But why is that? Why is it college graduates, especially people who go to selective colleges like Smith, why is it that college graduates earn so much more money on average? Well, the story that college professors like to tell and colleges like to tell, and that makes people like me feel better, is it's because you build your skills. That we take you, you're 18 or so, you can do some things, but we add to what you can do. We make you smarter. We make you more equipped to deal with the world. And by the time you graduate, you're a far more capable person. And businesses are willing to pay for that capacity. So unfortunately, that's not consistent with some other things that we observe. For example, you probably figured out, if you've been to college for a while, there's a lot of classes, including, frankly, mine, where almost all of what you learn is really not directly applicable, at least, to most jobs. The games I ask you, you're really not going to be asked to solve those kind of games. And, you might mention, oh, this is not a credible threat, the other business is talking about. But, it's not going to be that huge a deal. It's very different. For example, if you were to go to school to learn how to be a nurse, they would be teaching you really practical things. In this situation, do this. When the doctor says, combine these things in a way, do it this way, hook up the ventilator this way. Going to study to be a nurse makes you vastly more valuable to a hospital. But when I'm teaching you, most of what you're going to learn at Smith does not make you, at least the direct knowledge, isn't making you more valuable for most of the kind of jobs you're going to get. Okay, the argument could go, well, maybe we're not teaching you specific skills. What we're doing is teaching you how to think. And that would be great. If we could be teaching you how to think, man, we would, definitely college is making you more valuable to employers. Alas, there isn't any evidence that anyone knows how to teach anyone how to think better. So take chess. We can definitely teach people how to be better at chess. But that knowledge doesn't transfer even to other games that are relatively close. Our education can make people much, much better at narrow tasks, like learning how to be a nurse, learning how to play chess, learning how to play the type of games I've been giving you. But there isn't evidence that this increases your general intelligence. There isn't what's called learning transfer. Learning one specific skill doesn't transfer to make you better at other skills, even skills that are closely related. So the fact that I'm not teaching you, and Smith mostly isn't teaching you things that are directly useful to your job, that unfortunately means we're not giving you direct knowledge, but we're not also making you smarter in ways that are valued by your future employers, because we don't know how to do that. Nobody really knows how to do that. So what is going on, though? It is true that, college graduates on average earn a much higher salary. Why? Well, let's think about what employers value in employees. And I think, to be crude, I think we can come up with three traits that are really highly valued. One is well, the type of intelligence measured by the SATs. The SATs, math, verbal section, they're pretty broad, and that kind of intelligence is very valuable to a lot of employers in the United States. The second is diligence. That's just willingness to work hard. And the third is conformity. Your boss says, do this, you don't want to. Maybe you say, are you sure we don't do it this way? But if your boss says, no, do it this way, you do it that way. So again, intelligence, intelligence is a controversial word. So when I say intelligence, it's just whatever it takes, the ability to do reasonably well on the SATs. Diligence, which is hard work, and conformity. College is really a measure of those three traits. To do well in college, you have to do really well in those three traits. And we do the SAT math stuff is important for game theory for a lot of your classes at Smith. It's the verbal section that's important. We try to make you do a reasonable amount of work. And then conformity. I know officially we don't want you to conform, but you've all figured out that we want you to think differently, but you've got to figure out what your professor means by think differently. Like in my classes, coming up with a poem instead of like the numerical answers I want, it wouldn't go well. Maybe for another professor it would be, a poem would substitute for what she wants, but you can only deviate, you can only be nonconformist and still get good grades if you can conform to the professor's true desires. So what I think is going on with college is not that college is causing you to be more intelligent, more diligent, and more conformist, but it's measuring it. So what college is doing, if you get good grades at Smith, that's kind of proof to a future employer, hey, this person has intelligence, diligence, and conformity, and so she would be probably a reasonably good employee. You contrast like a modeling agency with United States Marines. You can imagine a modeling agency. They don't take an average person and make them beautiful. They take really, really beautiful people, and maybe they teach them how to put on makeup, but gives them some diet tips. But mostly they're taking people who are beautiful. And then the value of going to a modeling agency is that they've been selected for beauty, right? If you're calling up a prestigious modeling agency, you can be sure that the person you end up hiring for your ad will be very beautiful. In contrast to the Marines will take, I believe, an average healthy 18-year-old and will train them, will shape them, will make them far better at killing than they were before. We know how to do that. We know how to add muscle to people. We know how to make people run faster. We know how to make people figure out how to use weapons. I think college is a lot more like a modeling agency where we're certifying what people have rather than giving them useful skills. This, by the way, explains, at least before the coronavirus, why students are mostly happy when classes are canceled. I'm certainly not including what's going on right now, but most of the time, you get an email in the morning and it says, oh, I'm sorry, classes are canceled today. You're generally happy. That should be weird, right? I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you pay for the meal, and then the chef comes out, I'm sorry, we have to close. And by the way, you're not getting a refund. We're just closing. You would be really annoyed because you paid your money and you're not getting it back, but you're also not getting what you ordered. Yet when classes are canceled, students don't get refunds and they're quite happy that classes are canceled. They know they're not getting refunds. And this makes sense if what we're doing is certifying you. What you're really getting, you're paying for the diploma, and you want good grades, which make the diploma more valuable. And so missing class doesn't make it harder to get good grades. It makes it a bit easier and doesn't harm the value of your diploma. So it's called the signaling theory of education, that employers face a lot of uncertainty over the qualities of their employee. For a lot of high-paying jobs, you want people who are, SAT level intelligence, SAT type intelligence, they're diligent and they're conformists, and going to a good college shows you have these traits. Now, if this is all true, college is a horrible, expensive waste, right? It's 4 years. We could do this in a year. We could do this in 3 months. If all college is just signaling that you're a hardworking, diligent conformist, why not just have 3 months, you come in, you got an academic boot camp, you got to work 12 hours a day, solving complex problems, working really hard, doing whatever your teachers tell you to do. When the 3 months are over, you graduate, right? It's going to save you a lot of money and a lot of time. That would be a far more efficient system. Unfortunately, we're kind of trapped in this bad equilibrium if the signaling theory of education is right, because it's hard to signal conformity by doing something different than what everyone else does. So if one school starts this 3-month program and you go to it, an employer would be like, wait, why didn't you do the normal 4 years? What's wrong with you? They might suspect you couldn't handle 4 years. Maybe you could handle 3 months of conformity, but not 4 years. This is also why you can't get into a prestigious college, keep your acceptance letter and just go right to the job market. You can't say, hey, look, everyone, I got into this good school. I didn't need to go. I proved I was smart enough to get in. Because employers will be very suspicious of you. They'll think, wait, what was wrong with you that you didn't go? Maybe you could do well at high school when your parents are nagging you, but you couldn't do well in college. Maybe you just can't live with other people. Your family tolerates you because they have to, but living in a dorm isn't going to work for you. Maybe you've got a drug problem that without your parents would be out of control. So when one of the values of getting a college degree is that you're signaling that you're conforming, and when most people are going to college, it's hard for you to break away from that while still signaling that you're conforming. An interesting fact is in England, college is just 3 years. They don't seem to be greatly suffering for that. Now, if just Smith, say, went to 3 years, we would suffer because employers are like, wait, most schools are 4 years, Smith is 3 years? Oh, they're probably attracting the lazy students, so we don't want them. So it's hard for anyone to break away. It might be good if society as a whole broke away and we all decided to move at once from 4 years to 3 years, but just one school can't do that because then people wouldn't be signaling that they were conforming. Now, I don't want any of you to feel bad about your decision to attend college because it's entirely rational. This is, it's crazy from a society's point of view, I think, that, students are going to school for 4 years in college and they're not getting smarter because we don't know how to do that, and they're mostly not learning things that are going to be applicable to their jobs. But given that everyone else is doing that, at least everyone else probably with your level of intelligence, conformity, and diligence, it makes sense for you to do it as well. Right? There can be cases in which, from the view of society as a whole, what people are doing is silly, yet it's rational for everyone to go along. So it's certainly rational, I think, for all of you to be going to college, and certainly Smith is certainly no worse than this than many other schools. But, college is massively expensive, and not just in terms of room, board, and tuition, but it's a year lost of employment. Right? You add what you could be making in a year to what you're paying for Smith, just saving 1 year is a massive social savings. Interestingly, what I'm doing right now and what many professors across the country are doing there's a chance it might really harm the traditional college method to my detriment, but probably to the detriment of the world if the signaling theory of education is right. A lot of students are now getting their education online, and it's going to be interesting to see if they learn a lot less. This is, the advantage of online education is it can be done at scale. Right now, a lot of professors are giving their individual lectures, but if online education got more popular, you would have just a few people for every class. There'd be really nice graphics, not, the sun and moon stuff. But by the way, when we bought this house, this was a kid's bedroom, and I don't care enough to bother to change the wallpaper. So this is my home office, and that's why there are planets on the wall. So it's possible this could push us out of this equilibrium. Certainly, it'd be a lot cheaper to move to a system where people get educated. They online, could go at their own pace if they wanted to, could finish in a few years. I know an objection to my theory a lot of students say is, well, what about the social aspect? That's really important in that you enjoy that, and you certainly could have that. The thing about the social aspect, though, is that you could do that very differently. You wouldn't need expensive college professors. I could imagine a future model for students who aren't as worried much about the expense of college, where the money goes into really nice amenities. The college is in a nice area, and you have online classes, and then they don't hire nearly as many people like me who are expensive, and instead you might hire life coaches, hire people that can facilitate you, I don't know, socializing with each other, or not hire those people and, just save a lot of money. I mean, college would be a lot cheaper if you had everything except most of your classes were online. So again, this is the signaling theory of college that, many, but certainly not all economists think is true. Again, I hope you're all doing well and stay safe. Goodbye.